Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Be right with you in a little bit. Let's get myself together. So I'm up. Oh, sound is good. You got to excuse me. This system has a mind of its own, especially when I have multiple tabs up. There's a new well, it's not new. It's been around for a while. I'm going to assume, but it's a new. It's an app. It's called One Tab, and it's a pretty good app. You line up all your videos and what you're going to expound on, and you could pin it in the back of the computer. In other words, it won't take up space. And I'm experimenting with it. So just bear with me if we lose sound. But it may be a lifesaver in the future. It just might be. Just bear with me one moment. Okay. Just trying to cover myself. This video may get flagged because I want to take a chance and expound on some stuff I've been researching. You understand what I'm saying? First and foremost, anyone who stumbles on this video, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe and don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to like the video. I would greatly appreciate that considering my numbers are so small and I'm working my way up. So just do that for me. Just do that for me and it'll be greatly appreciated. Let me see if I'm up. Well, I can't see I'm up, but a lot of things happening in the world, man, and advise you, brothers and sisters, to be on your P's and Q's. Just watch yourselves out there, man, because we definitely in Revelations 12, verse 12. The devil knows that he has but a short time, and there's no doubt about that. He has a short time, and this is our day. You know, in previous videos I've mentioned that this is definitely our day. Meaning the Lord, he's bringing judgment on the heathen. He's bringing judgment on those who don't respect the word of the Most High. He's bringing judgment. But I'll be right back with you. Let me just pump this out real quick and get myself together. Yeah, the Most High loves you, brothers and sisters. You got to always bear that in mind and pray to the Most High. Pray that he sends you signs and revelations that he's with you. Pray that the Most High maintain you in your travels, and pray to the Most High that he gives you guidance and understandings through the trials and tribulations that you may be experiencing, or the hell and the fire and pain that's in the earth. Because, like I said earlier, the devil knows that he has but a short time. And the physical arm of the devil today are the children of Edom. So I'm gonna take it easy on the heathen today. I'm gonna try my best, considering some of the stuff I want to go into, because I know they're definitely watching and ready to strike my channel. But nonetheless, I was thinking just how diabolical, just how strong, just how wisdom on the left hand side the system can function under, man. Very, very smart, very meticulous as far as worldly wisdom. Very much. And a few things crossed my mind. I meant to come on yesterday, but I was too tired and I had some stuff going on. But I saw this article, and it's not the first time I've been here before. In terms of the dumbing down of society, and occasionally you'll hear me mention it, that music, entertainment, TV shows, whatever can be used to distract you from real issues and make you think on a third grade level. I think personally, this is my personal wisdom. I believe personally, these things are being used to control the minds of the public. And if you can convince people that they're sheep or cattle, if you can convince the people that they don't mean anything and have them think on a small level, you can not only rip off and rob the people, but you can control them and make them slaves. Even the white man and the Chinese, East Indians, and Africans, even though they don't fit under the curses of Deuteronomy 28, they are slaves too. They are slaves to the very system that oppresses us, that makes us into animals, that turns us into murderers. They're part of it too. It's just on a different level when you read biblical prophecy. That's what I'm saying. It's on a different level concerning biblical prophecy. Let me give you an example. I got this on Wikipedia. I believe it's Wikipedia. It says dehumanizing language such as referring to Palestinians as human animals. These so-called small hats. They're saying this is their point of view. And again, this is from the web. I'm not saying that I support this. I'm not saying I'm promoting this. I'm just reading what they have online, and it's just something to consider toward us as well. Because if this was true, and I'm not saying it's true, if this was true, could you imagine how they feel about the Hispanics that they're hunting down like animals? So-called illegals. Could you imagine how they feel about the Haitians who they are hunting down like animals? Could you imagine how they feel about you so-called Negroes who love this country and will go and fight for this country? Could you imagine? I saw a report some time ago where the Iranians were saying they don't want to bring any smoke on black folks. They said they see how we are oppressed and they see what we're going through. But then on the flip side, that should make you think that a lot of this Iranians having weapons of mass destruction, just like the Iraqis, that these Iranians have a strong hatred towards the small hats, the JEWs. That's something to consider, that it might be propaganda to a certain extent, because if you kill my family, you kill my children, and if you've been doing this for decades, of course you're going to get some pushback. Of course you're going to get some pushback. And that's exactly what's happening. The whole world is mad, and not just mad on a starvation level, but just mad because of what they have experienced and what they're going through. Shalom to whoever this is. Let me see. Shalom to you. You understand? Everybody's mad. But anyway, I pulled this up in reference to dumbing down. And it says dehumanizing language such as referring to Palestinians as human animals or equating them to animals has been documented in Israeli discourse during conflict. I mean, would this surprise you? It doesn't surprise me. But my point is, if the Palestinians or the Persians, aka so-called Iranians, which is up in the air as well, and the Arab nations or Islamic nations or people can be referred to by the superpowers as animals, what position in their thought process do you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and natives fit into? This is where reality comes into. Now they're talking about a possible draft, and I mentioned that I've seen Hispanics for on the line to be recruited at the recruiting station. I mentioned about so-called young black men, same thing, young black women, just ready to fight for a country that I personally believe doesn't love them. Doesn't love them. If they loved you, and if you can if it was possible for you to get around the curses of God, if that were even possible, you would be competing as a people against your competition nationality wise. In other words, blacks and Hispanics would have businesses, they would have banks, they would have car dealerships that can compete 10 toes down, head to head, fist to fist financially with white people, with Chinese, with East Indians, and even Africans who black people think they are. Shalom, Al-Kakam. Something to think about. Something to seriously think about. And if you're a smart brother or sister, this should be no problem for you to accept. But now, if you're overly emotional and if you have been dumbed down, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a serious problem for you. Let's go right here real quick. I'm going to come back to the other article that I was reading. It says, you let me know if I lose sound because I got a lot of stuff open. It says the dumbing down of America refers to a perceived decline in intellectual curiosity. Every young man and woman should be curious about life and God and doing better. But they kill your curiosity, the nature to want to inquire and to know and to feel and to see and to think. And it says critical thinking and literacy, often attributed to uh, info infotainment, whatever that means, uh, driven media, meaning they control your mind with stupid sh, man. That's what it means. Often attributed to infotainment driven media, underfunded education system, and a shift away from rigorous academic standards. See that? The system is not designed to make you smart. It's not designed to instill a form of integrity in your souls. It's designed to make you stupid. It's designed to make you stupid. This is how they're able to get away with the things they get away with in the system. This is how they're able to turn you away from God. Even when we were in Egypt, when we were slaves and in captivity, serving captivity in Egypt, even then the Most High said to Moses, tell Pharaoh to let his people go that they may worship him, to him being the Most High, that you could freely worship him. Then I quoted the other day that even though we're in captivity, because the heathen and the enemy love to say, well, don't you believe you curse? What are you complaining about? You curse, right? What are you complaining about? You should be open to Deuteronomy 28. You should be open to having your children ripped away from you. You should be open to all the curses from Deuteronomy 28 to 15 on down. You should be open to that, brother. But the Bible also said that they help forward the afflictions. I mentioned this earlier. They help forward the affliction. So there's a plan to keep everyone nice and dumb. There's a plan to keep everyone freaking off. There's a plan to keep people deleting childs in their womb or the fruit of their womb. There's a plan to keep you divided and hating each other and separated and divided. Hispanics against blacks, blacks against Hispanics. Yet you all are in the ghettos together. You all in the ghettos together, being dumbed down, being made a fool of, having your minds just getting weaker and weaker and weaker till you just fall for or feed into the less base mentality of humans. In other words, you're like cattle, just like they're calling you, man. You're like cattle. You know what that some of the Africans call black people, black so-called black Americans? They call you kata, wild animal without a home. That's what they call you. And if you look at it, it seems like that because black people don't talk about going home. And if they do talk about going home, they talk about going to Africa, which is not your home. That's not your home. That's not your home. They say you talk about Africa and you talk about history, you talk about nationality, but you don't know your nationality. You don't know that. You know how to sing, dance, and entertain for your enemies. You know how to work, slave, and make money for your enemies. You know how to whore yourselves out and make a spectacle out of yourselves for your enemies. But the time or situation where you wake up and start telling the truth, people get mad. Once you start reading this Bible and you find out what's going on against you, when you find out who your enemy is, people get mad. They get tight once you start finding out who you really are. Once you find the Most High and you find Jesus and you find the angels, you start to wake up. You start to wake up. You start to see things as they are, and you realize you do have enemies. The ones of you who are smart, but not everybody, not all of you. You understand? Because the system is designed to make you stupid. It's designed to make you evil. That's what the system is designed for. Whether you want to believe it or accept it or not, that's the truth of the matter. So it says the dumbing down of America refers to a perceived decline in intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, and literacy. Literacy, we don't read. We damn sure don't read the Bible. And we don't do any type of critical thinking. You know when you think critical? When you want to kill your brother. When you want to smash or have sex, casual sex, wicked sex, unlawful sex with women. Like animals, like pit bulls. You understand? Often attributed to infotainment. I like that word. It says driven media, unfunded educational systems, and a shift away from rigorous academic standards. Look at that. A shift away from rigorous academic standards. It implies a cultural preference for superficial information over deep knowledge. See that? A preference for superficial information, meaning surfacey, simple, without depth, information over deep knowledge. You know what deep knowledge is? Knowing who are God's true chosen people. That's deep knowledge. You know what deep knowledge is? Knowing who your enemy is. That's deep knowledge. You know what else is deep knowledge? Learning how this government really works. But you can't tell that to the average black man. He gonna get mad. No, that's just you teaching racism and you teaching hate. You teaching racism, you teaching hate. Every nation on this planet stands up for their people. They do for their people and they fight for the survival of their people. But the so-called black man and Hispanic man, they want to love everybody. They want to love everybody. Meanwhile, everybody hates you. There's no racism in that. It's a fact. No racism in that at all. It's just a fact, a natural fact, man. But people don't want to hear the truth. They rather fight, kill, and destroy. This is why, with them fighting each other, these wars, I applaud them. I'm clapping. I applaud that because it's refreshing, like I said so many times, to see other people go at it, other people fight, other people destroy each other other than us. And I know it's God. My Lord says he's a man of war. In Exodus, I think it's 15:3, 3:15, I can't remember. He said he's a man of war. So I'm not surprised. I don't believe that God is all love. But meanwhile, the so-called Negro, he thinks that God is all love. And that's a stupid position to be in. But what if this was all a plan? The war in Iran, the war in Venezuela, or the taking of the president in Venezuela, the wars that the Russians are fighting. What if this is all a diabolical plan to get world domination, world control, or, like I said so many times, to position themselves better to control the oil, to position themselves better to control the chips in Taiwan? I personally believe that is prophecy, but not just prophecy. It's a means of survival for the Russians trying to hold themselves down, the so-called Americans trying to hold themselves down, the Chinese trying to hold themselves down. Now I'm hearing that China is mad at Iran now. For a minute, brothers and sisters were saying that China is going to jump on the side of Iran. Now I'm hearing that China has a problem with Iran because of the situation in the Straits. That's a problem now. When you can't eat and you can't make things happen, you can't dance the way you used to dance, you will turn on your partners. And China and Russia were partners with Iran, but now they have turned on Iran. They don't like what's going down. Not only that, the Arab countries are turning on Iran. And the only thing Iran has now is the Straits. The Straits, where the oil rigs and boats pass through. If they can hold that down, they have a chance to bring Trump and the so-called small hats, the JW people, to the table. But that will never happen. That will never happen unless they break. Things get so crazy all around the world that there's a break. But it don't look so good for Iran right now. It does not look so good for them because their navy's 51 ships are at the bottom of the sea. Planes that they use to fight, that's butkus, that's gone. And their missile capability, so they say, is at 20% now. It went from 100% of launching missiles down to 25%. So they say. I might be wrong. It might be fake news. But no man goes against the beast and is successful against the beast unless the Most High sanctions it. Unless the Most High, he gives the okay. No man or woman or beast can go against what the Most High has set up. Bottom line. That's what I'm saying. Not hard to figure out. Not hard to see. It's just what it is. So I want to bring this up. I want to show you this. Let me see if I can get it up real quick, because I found this interesting. I like to look at things from different perspectives, not just one way. Not just the white man is the devil and he's losing. I can't do that. Is he the devil? Well, you know how I feel about that. Will he lose, or is he losing? He's losing here and there because, like I said, the Most High has a domino effect in his prophecies and even in war. For example, Trump went against these people following or being the slave he is to the Israelis and totally slammed them. Slammed their boats, slammed their airplanes, totally dominated them. But he has a problem with the Straits. He can't get in there. And people are afraid to bring the boats through the Straits and different countries, mainly China, they need oil. They need this oil. And what I found out, it's not just China, it's many countries in Asia that rely on the oil from the Straits of Hormuz. They rely on that. So there's only so long you can piss people off and hold them from what they need. So China is now getting mad at Iran. Russia is now getting mad at Iran. The Arabian countries, the Saudis, are getting mad at Iran, as well as the Libya and other countries. They're getting mad at Iran. So everything offset something, right? Because it can shift against Trump and he'll have to abandon ship and hit the stop button. It can go that way, and he'll look like a total fool, and he'll look weak, and he'll look stupid. At the same time, the media, which hates Trump, 90% of the media speaks against Trump. You know they're not going to give him a good press on this war. So the longer he stretches it out, the more days and weeks go by, it's going to have the people look at this situation like it's affecting me. It's affecting me at the pumps. It's affecting me how I buy food. So there's pressure there too. But now if China gets involved or the European nations, they start bringing their battleships to the Straits, which is in the future. If you put on the news, that's the future. That might flip the other way for Trump and Americans and the JEW people. So we just got to watch and see how this thing plays out. But I'm just simply trying to show you how the winds turn constantly when it comes to the Most High. That's what I'm talking about. God, he judges, he brings up nations and he makes nations fall, but you have to be very inclined as far as what's happening in the news, who's lying, if it's geopolitical, if it's just evil political, you have to be up to date on what's happening. But just check out this real quick. I thought this was interesting. Check this out.
For Venezuela. And I wish I was wrong, but on February 27th, Iran agreed to nuclear inspections. And then
the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives.
That means the U.S. is now at war with a country of 92 million people. And that's what's happening right now. The question that I think we're all trying to understand is why? Because official explanation doesn't make any sense. The official explanation is, this was not a regime change war, but their regime is gone. And that the nuclear program was the threat, but we already destroyed it 8 months ago with Operation Midnight Hammer. That Iran was about to attack the US because they had the capability to make nuclear weapons, but the Senate Intelligence Committee says they saw no evidence of any threat.
There was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians.
Sounds familiar? Remember Iraq? No weapons of destruction? It was always a plan to eradicate the superpowers of the Middle East. It was always planned out. This man plans things 30 years in advance, possibly further than that. Very smart on the wicked side. Because the whole ideal is to keep power. In your book, it says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Now, he won't acknowledge that it's the Most High that gave him that power. He won't acknowledge that. He just thinks he has the power and it's going to be forever and ever to all generations. Psalms 49 verse 11. Doesn't your book say that? That he will rule and keep ruling forever and ever from one generation to another generation in Psalms 49 verse 11. Doesn't your book say that? Then the ultimate birth of things that we talk about in the Apocrypha is 1 Maccabees 1 verse 7, 8, and 9. That after the death of Alexander, he put crowns on his 4 generals, and they did the same thing from generation to generation to generation. We talked about that the last video, I believe it was. I'm not sure. Shalom, Don. We talked about that. So I'm saying that you just have to stay in your lane, brothers and sisters, and live righteously and put 2 and 2 together. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. But you can't be in your emotions and you can't be in your feelings. And at the same time, we still in captivity. We still have the devil on our ass. So you have to be very careful not to step out of scripture, not to step out of prophecy, not to step outside of the faith. No matter how rocky things go, you have to be very careful not to go that route, like your brothers and sisters who are out in the world, who are overly emotional and who have been dumbed down. You saw what we read as far as being dumbed down by the system. No critical thinking, no reading, infotainment. They follow just Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, Drake, Jay-Z. What's going to happen to P. Diddy? All those people are being used by the same system that's trying to rip off and rob the people in the Middle East. That's the reality, but they don't know it. Maybe the ones at the top, like a Jay-Z and a P. Diddy, they know it. But even they dumb as hell and they too stupid to figure out the entirety of what the hell is really happening. But all we got to know is that it's all planned and is based on the spirit of Satan. That's all we have to know. And we're wise enough to know that because we have been teaching on the wicked, on the Illuminati, on us and the curses for over 20 years. Some of you maybe a little less. But you're smart enough to know not to invest your spirit or lock into the system. See, everything comes out in the light after a while. What's in the dark does come out in the light after a certain period of time. Check it out.
That's why all of this is so confusing, because nothing makes any logical sense. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Because the truth is that all of this is very logical because it has been planned for the last 30 years. And I'm going to show you the 4 different power players that all wanted this to happen and what their interests actually are. If we follow the money far enough, we'll come to a theory that connects all of this. And that theory has to do with something called the control grid and power over the flow of money. So with that said, let me explain who this benefits, how this affects investors, and what the heck is happening. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the geopolitical rabbit holes that keep me up at night. So let's talk about why this is happening beyond the official narrative that we're told about. There are 4 major theories that explain it. There's 4 interest groups, all with credible evidence. And let me just start with the elephant in the room, which is Israel. Okay, so why do people think Israel forced the US to go to war? Evidence number 1 is a video of Marco Rubio explaining why this happened.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed.
So that's the BS narrative. So there may be a few truths in there, but the full-blown truth is control and domination of strategic positions in this world, and to grab up the resources, and to grab up the oil, and to grab up the chips. That's war. And notice how when he opened up, he said, let's step outside. Not these exact words. Let's step out of the common narrative. Notice how he said that. In other words, the dumbing down. Let's step outside of the dumbing down. Remember, part of the dumbing down was critical thinking. Critical thinking. Black people and Hispanic people and some white people are not able to think critically about important issues. In The Pale Horse, it said to keep the people minds on a 3rd grade level and keep them busy, 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 busy. And if you think about it, if you work a 9 to 5, if you have children, if you're struggling to pay bills, if you're struggling to make ends meet, you're always busy and the weeks go by so fast. That's how the system is designed. And if you're not healthy, if you're overweight, if you don't eat properly, if you don't exercise and keep your muscles up to par, you will get sick and possibly die. Or you will not function properly and you will not focus properly because your body is important. Health is wealth. But in the system, they give us the worst foods. In the system, they give us the worst alcohol. Or if you get good alcohol, you drink too much. Everything is in the negative. What you eat, what you watch, how you think, everything is in the negative. It's in the negative, including the media. You have to constantly be on top of things concerning the media. Some things could be a lie. Some things could be the truth. Some things could educate you. Some things can make you even dumber. But the more we learn the Most High, the more we start reading between the lines, the more we start educating ourselves, getting an education, what we want to be educated with, not what you pay for and go to college to learn, but what you want to be educated under, meaning self-education, the more you start to see through the bullcrap. The more you will see through the bullcrap.
So Marco told Congress, we knew there was going to be an Israeli action, so we struck preemptively. He's saying Israel was going to do this no matter what. And once Israel hit Iran, Iran was going to retaliate against the US by attacking US military bases. And because Israel made this inevitable choice, the US was forced into it as a preemptive action. Now, another piece of evidence is an incredible interview with a former CIA officer, John Kiriakou. I'll leave a link down below to the podcast, but John claims that Israel essentially gave the US an ultimatum. His words, Israel said to the US, bomb Iran's nuclear facilities or we will use our own weapons to do it.
The reason, though, I'm told, that Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran was that the Israelis said, for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these deep bunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And they had never threatened that before. And so Trump said, bombing Iran might actually save us from the start of World War III.
Now, that could be a lie or it could be a truth. That's up to you as far as how you eat that information in your psyche or in your spirit. But me personally, I believe that it's more of a money grab to protect your lands and to maintain power and wickedness in your lands, and at the same time not have the enemy in your backyards. I believe that the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, has them ready to go to war with each other. Is it World War III? I don't know. Is this the door to World War III? It's a strong possibility. But I will never put myself out there and saying that this is World War III. I will never put myself out there, because to be a false prophet or to be a liar or to be overly emotional, I will never put myself in a position like that, or to give brothers and sisters false hope. I will never do that. I will never do that. But could this be true? You're damn right it could be true, but time will tell. Let's go.
If it keeps the Israelis from using nuclear weapons.
That's the whole reason behind Operation Midnight Hammer, the initial strikes against Iran, which was to prevent World War III or an all-out nuclear war from starting. Right? Now, Israel has never officially acknowledged having nuclear weapons, but a lot of experts believe they do, even though they've never said it. So if John Kiriakou's source is accurate, Israel threatened to use weapons it has never admitted to having, which forced the United States into a war to prevent a potentially much bigger one involving nuclear weapons from starting. That's a huge claim. It hasn't been independently verified, but it does have a lot of credible evidence. Now, even if we discount him and we don't believe him, the third piece of evidence comes from the source, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been pushing for an attack and a regime change in Iran since the mid-1990s.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So if you've been paying attention at all, this has been the project for 30 years. This was the goal.
30 years. 30 years. So nothing is off the table. Nothing is off the table, and nothing is 100% truth. And nobody has 100% truth. There are things happening behind the scenes we don't even know about. We don't even know about. So to just make something up is just insane. You can come to a reasonable conclusion or something that makes sense. But now if you're a spiritual man, we know that the Bible talks about wars and rumors of wars and nations rising up against nations. Why wouldn't nations rise up against nations in greed? Why is that so far-fetched? It's in Scripture. Why wouldn't nations try to set up guardrails or protection barriers, meaning you stay on your side of the world and I stay on my side of the world, and when oil or chips or something runs out on their side of the world, they try to gangster it from another part of the world or another people. Then overall, what we all can agree on, or the majority of us can agree on, is that this man has been like this for over 30 years, since the Greeks and the Romans. So when he established themselves, or when they established themselves as superpowers, especially in Israel, why would the article that I'm reading be so far-fetched? Dehumanizing language such as referring to Palestinians as human animals or equating them to animals has been documented in Israeli discourse during conflicts. We're in a conflict now. Such rhetoric, including comments suggesting Palestinians are like animals, has been used to justify reflecting severe, often polarizing narratives. So why would that be so hard to believe? I'm not saying, YouTube, that that's truth. I'm just reading from an article, I believe it's Wikipedia even, from the web. I'm just connecting the dots, showing you that no man, especially these men, are beyond wicked, evil, satanic works of evil, murder, and even rituals. I was talking to a brother the other day. He kind of had a hard time wrapping around his mind or his thought process that these people are capable of serving the devil, drinking blood, and sacrificing children. It's been like that since day one on the planet. Why would it be limited to these people? Why would it stop? Why would the buck or the train stop when it comes to the European man? They do it in Africa. They do it in Asia. They do it here in America. They definitely do it in the Caribbean. They definitely do it in Haiti. Why would man be limited to serving the devil, sacrificing children, drinking blood? Especially if power came out of that. You think this man ain't gonna stop if the devil blessed him? Even our Lord and Savior, who they call Jesus Christ, we call him Yahweh Shai, the devil said he would give him the world. He would give the Lord and Savior, the King of Kings, the world if only he bowed down himself and worshiped him. Then you know the story. The Lord quoted scriptures about one God, thou shalt have no other God beside him. You know the story. But who's to say that same force, that same spirit is not capable to go to individuals, to go to prime ministers, to go to presidents, to go to NATO, to go to people of power, and on the lower level to go to other younger men and other younger women to whore themselves out, to become murderers, to become entertainers, to keep the people captivated in ignorance? Who's to say that doesn't exist? I mean, if you believe in God and you believe in Scripture, it's not that impossible to believe for it to happen. The Bible talks about it, Old Testament and New Testament. There are powers that be that are unseen that can bless people on this earth if you obey the devil. I'm just saying, So my brother, he had a hard time wrapping his head around it, but he will see as time go on. What's in the dark will come out in the light eventually.
And it happened. So that's power player number one. Israel wanted Iran's regime gone, and they got it with American firepower, American service members, and American money. And in the grand context of power, who does this benefit? it benefits the military-industrial complex, which some people call the neocons. Right, that's power player number one. The second theory is even more interesting. But before we continue, this video is brought to you by Tello Mobile. If you've been paying 50 views on Trustpilot where the 4-point Hormuz comes in, there's this body of water between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula called the Strait of Hormuz. It's very narrow, but about a quarter of the world's supply of oil passes through.
Pay attention now. This is where we get into the money. This is the money. And you know how the powers that be love money, so pay attention.
This tiny little point. And as of right now, it's shut down. Traffic has dropped 70%. There's over 150 ships just sitting there waiting. And insurance companies have suspended their coverage, which is basically a financial kill switch. Because if you can't get insurance, they can't ship their oil to places like China. So as a result, oil has gone up in price. And analysts are saying if this close lasts more than a couple weeks, we could see $100 or higher for a barrel of oil. Gas prices at the pump are also projected to go up 10 to 30 cents a gallon in the short term. That's the optimistic scenario. Now hold on. How does this benefit the US? This benefits the US because this hurts Iran. What hurts Iran hurts China because China buys a lot of Iranian oil. So from a sovereign powers perspective, right? So from the perspective of the United States, this is a strategic win because it makes China more dependent on US oil. And if the US can control the supplies of oil around the world, that is leverage.
You hear that? Did you hear that? China depends on that oil. And what is it? Russia was secretly getting oil from them, even though America supposedly had put barriers to put pressure on Russia by locking them out of getting oil from various countries. But Russia and China is cool with Iran. But now if the oil starts to stop flowing, you don't think for a second that Russia is going to say, hey, pal, we got you. Don't think for a second China is going to say, hey, pal, we got you. They need oil to survive. I saw a video, I can't play it now because it's on my pin of other videos, where the lines as long as hell in China because the gas lines, the pumps, the lines at the pumps are long as hell because they're preparing for the price of gas to skyrocket over there even higher. So that goes back into the Most High and chain reactions, how the Most High operates. So the pressure is on, not just in America, because a lot of you follow anything in the media, and the media would have you believe that it's the end of the world right now in America because of the gas prices. Does it affect America, the gas prices? Yes, but it's up. But you're not on bread lines. You're still buying PlayStation 6 and 7 and 8. You're going to still buy the latest iPhone. You're going to still pay $150 to $200 for them Jordans. When all that stop and the TikTok closes up and the Facebook closes up, come and see me then. But the point is, when the pressure is on, people want to fight. People turn their back on their friends. And it sure looks like China is going in that direction. And if that happens, then America has a shot at the straits over there. I think it's called Hormuz, the Straits of Hormuz. They got a shot. But now, if they blow up boats in that water and the insurance doesn't cover the safe travels of boats in those waters, I guess, what is it, Lloyd's of London? They hold a ticket to the insurance. If that happens, that's going to have a drastic effect on the economy. We just have to wait and see what happens. But that's just something to really think about. But you got to follow the money. Follow the money.
Now, obviously, U.S. oil companies will also benefit. ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips. Their costs will stay the same, but the price of what they're selling is going up. Every dollar increase in crude oil translates to higher profit margins for them, aka those companies make more money. But this also benefits the dollar because oil is still priced in dollars. So when oil prices go up, global demand for dollars goes up with it. And we can even see that in the data when we look at the Dixie Index, which measures the strength of the dollar relative to other currencies. That is getting stronger. Some people argue this is a way of saving the global hegemon that is the dollar system. Now, if this theory sounds crazy to you, believe it or not, this was predicted on video by a Russian politician as early as 2013.
So what's their plan? They still need to occupy 7 more Arab countries, crush Syria, and destroy Iran with a military strike. America needs to weaken China. If Iran is struck, oil prices will soar to $200 per barrel. The Chinese economy won't be able to withstand that. And the European Union won't withstand it either. So, by striking Iran, America weakens both the EU and China.
So higher oil prices.
You see, that's so they plan these things out way, way in advance. That's what we're learning. We're learning that these devils, they plan these things out way, way in advance. And the same way they plan those things way, way in advance, you even hear about Iran preparing for war against Israel 20, 30 years ago. This is nothing new. This is nothing new at all. But now, if you don't know scriptures and you don't know the Most High, this can affect you tremendously. This is where it comes to critical thinking. We read the article about critical thinking and reading. So us as followers of the Most High, us as followers of Christ, we call him Yahushua, we're trained to operate and function off of critical thinking, especially in scripture. This is Ephesians 6, verse where is it? Is it 6 verse what's what verse I want? Oh, okay. 6 verse 10. Let's go to 10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. See? That's you. You're strong in the Lord. Now, your brothers and sisters in the world who don't read, who don't have the ability of critical thinking, they're strong in the dollars. They're strong in the Jordans. They're strong in the jeans. They're strong in the blonde, green, and pink hair. They are strong in the rap industry. They are strong in entertainment. But us as followers and believers of this truth, of our Lord, we're strong in the Lord. Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. See? Put on the whole armor of God. Put on the word which is your armor. That ye may be able, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, meaning the trickery of the devil. You see that? So we are fully equipped and be ready to go to war spiritually, meaning with the attacks on our minds. Because we serve the Most High. Now the world and the enemy is out to what? To dumb you down. They're out to dumb you down. We read it again. I'm going to go right back to that real quick. The dumbing down of America refers to a perceived decline in intellectual curiosity. Don't your book says, seek ye the Lord? Isn't that kind of like a curiosity? Seek ye in the book of the Lord, sorry. In your book, in the book of Joshua, I think it's 1 and 8, 2 or 8, I think it's 1 and 8. It says, this book of the law, LAW, shall not depart from your mind. Isn't that curiosity and wanting to learn the Most High? Isn't it? Then in the book of Revelation, I think it's 2 and 25. I can't remember off the top of my head. In your book, again, in your book, doesn't it says, blessed is he that readeth and keepeth the commandments till he comes, something to that effect? That's in your book, which all leapfrogs into critical thinking and literacy. Don't you read the Josephus and all these different books on how the world really works and how economics and how wicked these people are when it comes to finances and the petrodollar and the American dollar and crypto and to do away with the American dollar? Don't you read and watch the news and watch YouTube on stuff like that rather than booty shaking? Don't you do that? All these things pertain to a man or a woman who have a way of thinking on another level other than their brothers and sisters who are in the world. that make sense? To me, that makes sense. To me, that's perfect. But now, let's go back here. The 11th verse says, "Put on the whole armor of the Lord, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood." 12th verse again. It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness." These are not ordinary men that's being discussed today. These are not ordinary men that's in power that's being discussed today. The men and women on Jeff Epstein's island, were those regular men and women? The men and women at the P. Diddy party, which is a lower level than Jeff Epstein, I can admit that. But the ones who are secretly recorded, the ones who went into different rooms and woke up naked and their butt sore, and they were being used to blackmail, were those regular men? Is Beyonce a regular woman? Is Jay-Z a regular woman? See, you brothers and sisters who are wise, you know this, that they're not regular people. But our brothers and sisters and heathen, meaning non-Israelites who are in the world, they don't see these people as something different, something special for Satan. They don't see that. But you brothers and sisters, you see it. You see it. You see it clear as day. And you see when the Lord is talking about the works of darkness against spiritual wickedness in high places, that this is talking about a different kind of people who will do anything to maintain power, who will lie through the media, who will twist the minds of the people through the media, who will set up presidents and senators and congressmen to help do their bidding to keep people in the darkness. Shalom, brother. Who's that? MKDG. Yes, shalom, brother. They will do anything. Now, I'm going to play this next video. I'm sure the sound is going to go out after the video posts, but I'm going to take a chance because it's on Rumble. But y'all, I'll do this just for y'all and listen closely to this because this ties in with Ephesians. But check this out.
The elites at a very high level, and we actually know the basic number of them as well, are doing human trafficking, human rape.
You know what? I got an idea. I got an idea. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to cover the screen. So maybe I'll get a pass on that. Let's try it. Let's try it that way. But listen up closely.
Rape and human sacrificing of children because they're the closest to God, and when I read this, I mean it's unthinkable. Like you don't want to believe it, and so I mentioned it on Joe Rogan, but I also mentioned that I was starting an AI company, and what shocked me is after the show, more people wanted to talk about the AI thing, and more people were upset about that I was starting an AI company than they were about this nightmare of elites eating babies. And so then I started thinking about.
Now, I'm not saying that the elite are eating babies. I'm not saying that, YouTube. And I'm sure they're going to, this part of the video is going to play, and this portion of the video is going to be muted out most likely. But I'm not saying that. Do I believe it? I think you brothers and sisters, you know. Because in ancient times, they would sacrifice babies and children to the devil. This they would do. In ancient times, they did all these things as if it were natural. Canaanites, Greeks, Romans, they had a thing where they loved to do that stuff. And I don't believe it was just a fly-by-night thing. I think it gave them power. It gave them power. We read it the other week. I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick. It gave them power. So why wouldn't they do that today? Has man become so righteous and so filled with wisdom, the wisdom of God, that they no longer do those things for power? This is what I was talking about earlier. I believe all those things are done for power. And it will continue. The closer we get to Judgment Day, they have to protect themselves. They got to protect themselves. And they have to maintain their rulership in evil. So why is that so impossible or hard to believe? Why? I don't think it's that hard to believe. I think it's very simple and easy to believe.
Why is this happening? Well, and I mean, we've seen people who have spoken about it, who have been who have participated in it and who have left. It's a kind of it's an initiation that you go through to become a confidence initiation that you go through to become part of a team. And that's when I realized that this is not something that's unique to the.
This guy's a director for movies, and he was affiliated with the director that made the movie Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise. I forgot his wife's name, but it's a great movie. I would suggest you rent that movie, or no, you don't have to rent it now. You can go right on YouTube and watch that movie now, or you can go on your Fire Stick. I would definitely suggest you watch that movie. And what he was saying in another clip I'm going to play is that parts of the movie was changed when Kubrick had died, or before he died. I can't remember if it was before or after, but they had some serious scenes he's trying to allude to that would change. I'm assuming it's based on witchcraft and child sacrifice. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's a great movie. You should check the movie out.
Elites, that human nature involves these kinds of hazing initiations, or else we wouldn't see it happening since childhood. Like a bunch of boys get together and kill a squirrel or something. If you're not part of that group, if you're the one kid who's not part of it, and you don't, and you recognize that it's morally wrong and you separate yourself from that group, you are now outside of that group. If you're in a fraternity and you don't go through the hazing initiation, which, who knows what that is, you are now outside of that group.
If you don't screw the pig or the goat, you're not in the club.
There was this guy I'd seen on X who, this well-dressed black dude who was I think it was at the Atlanta airport, and he had read basically what I had read. And he was out there and he couldn't believe everyone was asleep and just going about their daily lives, just like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And he was like Kevin McCarthy, the actor from the original movie, who was reprising that final moment of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers in Philip Kaufman's remake in the 1970s. And I think it's the 1970s. And where he was in the airport just saying, you don't know what's happening there. He's telling them they're eating babies. They're the horrors that are going on, and he's trying to shake everyone out of it. And people are videotaping him, and people are standing back, and people are kind of laughing, off to the side, and nobody actually wants to admit it. And I watched that and in kind of horror, and I was thinking, here he is. That guy's like me.
That's like you, brothers and sisters. You telling them what's really happening in the world and what this society is really made out of. You got people that's really in that mindset. And that's you, brothers and sisters, who are warning the people about that. I told this story before, I'm gonna tell it again. I remember I was at a good friend of mine, a sister that I grew up with. And at that time, my son was around the corner and her children were hanging out with my son. They were very young. And, we're from a nice neighborhood, somewhat nice neighborhood in Brooklyn. And she called someone at my place and told that person to send the kids down the block, let them walk by themselves. And I was just coming into the faith, and I was learning things about child sacrifice and when it happens, a time of year around October. And we were around that time. And I told her, you're not gonna go and meet your children? She said, no, they can walk by themselves. I said, you know what they do around this time of year, October, and why children end up missing? So, at that point, they still do. They hate the Israelites, and they think we're a joke, and they don't want to believe anything we're saying. And I was explaining it to her, and she like, whatever, sat there like whatever. And I'm looking at her body language and she's fidgeting and she don't look herself. She grabbed her coat and ran down there to meet her kids because she's not stupid. Words is power, and they can doubt us all they want, but all this stuff is going to come out, man. All this stuff is going to come out. So the same way she like made fun of us and didn't believe, when it came to her kids on the table, she changed that really quick, man. She changed really quick. Check it out. Same dude on Rogan, because he mentioned he was on Rogan, so I looked it up. Check it out.
So it was such an odd one. Like his films are so different. And he was a weird guy too. He did like complex mathematics in his spare time.
You're talking about Stanley Kubrick, who made the movie Eyes Wide Shut, and mysteriously he died after that movie. He was gone after he made that movie. That's so mysterious. But if you see the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Why they would kill him. Check it out.
I do complex mathematics in my spare time. Nothing wrong with that. No, yeah, he's a weird guy, but he was also, I think, thinking 3 steps ahead of everybody at any kind of given moment. I mean, to be honest, I was just thinking, I just pulled my script from Eyes Wide Shut. I had a script that was from set, and I was reading it over the weekend, and I saw that it has this, I mean, I've known this for a long time, but I started really thinking about it over the weekend. It's missing a narration. It's missing a third-person narration that was originally in the movie. And that's because the movie was recut and changed after his death. And
because he was going into like really how things work. They have sex parties and freak off, just like Jeff Epstein, just like Sex Island. And the thing is, what confuses me, you know the history, you know what the Romans got. They put it in these movies with the Romans. You see how the Romans got down and freaking off and just orgies and men with men and women with women. How many of you watch Spartacus or the new Spartacus? You see how raunchy that is? They had a woman coming by. It was a decent looking woman, and the camera panned down, and he had a man's rod. It was a man. It was a man. And I believe they did that stuff back then, man. I believe they had pretty looking women who are actually men. Then you got all these apparatus, if you know what I'm saying. I don't want to get a strike. Strapped on to people and on helmets and stuff like that, man. They did this stuff in the past. And our Lord, in your book, I'm going to keep saying in your book, it says there's no new thing under the sun. In your book, it says that. It says that. So going back to Ephesians, the 12th verse, it says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We go to war every day we leave our apartments, our homes. We go to war every time we work our 9 to 5s. We go to war every time we get on transportation, whether it's the train or the bus. And you know that you feel the devil in brothers and sisters and heathen. You know you feel the evil that's surrounding you to the point some of you get headaches, some of you feel sick, some of you feel tired. And you wasn't feeling this way some years ago. You wasn't feeling this way some months ago, some weeks ago. So am I the only one feeling this? Am I the only one experiencing this? Or is the Spirit working with you, brothers and sisters, to the point where you're seeing it and you're feeling it? For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that's what dude is pretty much going into. I don't want to play too much there because I don't want to get a strike, but that's what he pretty much is going into, man. That's what he's going into. It's not hard to figure out, man. It's just, it's in your face. You know what I'm saying? It's in your face. And it's in your book. That's the main thing that, that gets me going. It's in your book. Even the Christians, they can't deny this. They can't deny this because it's in the Bible. You don't have to be an Israelite in spirit to know that this is not new in the Bible. Right? Makes sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me. So the Most High is talking about spiritual wickedness in high places. These devils will stop at nothing to push their agenda. And the media and everything is controlled by the same. They're all controlled by the same devils, man. Not hard at all to figure out. I'm trying to get rid of some of these tabs before the system shuts down. So we shouldn't be surprised by their feelings and how they view us, especially if they view the heathens that way. Shouldn't be surprised. Dehumanizing rhetoric. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant refers to Hamas as human animals in October 2023. Sarah Netanyahu, wife of the Israeli Prime Minister, furthered this by stating she would not call them human animals because it would be insulting to animals. I wonder if this is true. I wonder if this is true. You know how crazy this would be if this was true? Media opinion critics and opinion pieces have described the treatment of Palestinians, particularly in Gaza, as placing them pinned like cattle behind barriers, arguing this constitute a broader dehumanization. How do you think they feel about black people? How do you think they feel about black people? You really think you're going to get reparations? You got brothers all day, every day chanting about reparations. You really think they're going to give you reparations? See, us who are spiritual and we know the curses and we know the Bible back and front, we know that's not going to happen. We know that this man is never going to change, and we know that God's judgment is real. This stuff we know. We know this. But now if you want to be an idiot and you want to walk around like everything is all right, there's only one race, the human race, then you are a goddamn fool, because every nationality, every people is looking out for themselves. They're looking out for themselves. Not hard to figure out at all. It's ridiculous the way we think, but it's not hard. Revelation 12, verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Meaning in a position or a world or country or a place on this earth, being in a position of comfort, having the best foods, having the best resources, having the greatest real estate, the Lord told them in a heavenly position to rejoice. It says, ye that dwell in them. If you dwell in a position like that, rejoice, the Lord is saying. But it's not talking about good people. It's talking about people who don't love God and people who are against God. Nonetheless, the Most High says to them to rejoice in that position. And it says, woe unto you, inhabitants of the earth, meaning the people who are in a lower position. Who are in a lower position. Heaven and hell are simply conditions. Heaven and hell is not what the Christians teach you about angels flapping wings and you there and you come to the pearly gate and there's an angel there with a clipboard and he says, oh, you made it, brother. And he gives you a set of wings and you drink in strawberry molasses and you just living it up. That's not the kingdom of heaven, man. That's not the kingdom of heaven. That's a lie that you get from the damn church. That's what that is. The kingdom of heaven is being able to do what you want to do and living it up. The kingdom of heaven is having money, and your kids can play in the front yard and you don't have a care in the world. That's what the kingdom of heaven is like. You in hell, man. This is hell. And the Most High is making it very clear you in hell. Making it very clear you in hell. I believe that we become so accustomed to hell that we no longer recognize the truth of the Most High anymore. I believe that we just think this is it. This is the best we can do. Don't get no better than this, and God doesn't exist. You got Negroes who actually talk that in that, in that capacity, that language, that this is it. Every empire falls from their heaven at some point. Every nation falls from their heaven in a position of power at some point, and they're brought down to hell. Matthew 11, verse 23, very basic scripture. It says, and thou Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven. See that? Capernaum was a rich city by the sea. Very rich. And the Lord said, it shall be brought. It says, and thou Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven. It says, shalt be brought down to hell. See? See? Does that mean Capernaum is going to be brought down to a place underground, a spiritual underground place, like it tells you in Luke 16? It's going to be brought down there, and it's going to be goblins, and like Conan the Barbarian, you're going to have a big pot or cauldron with skulls and hands, and half beast man is going to be stirring it, making a human bodily goulash. There's going to be flames and hot stones everywhere. No, heaven and hell is right here on this earth. In Capernaum, which rejected the Most High prophesied through his son Yahushua, Christ, that it would be brought down to hell. And he goes further, says, for if the mighty works which have been done in thee, meaning in this place, have been done in Sodom, it would have remained unto this day. This is how evil and rebellious Capernaum was. And even the people of Sodom, they would have repented. America is the same way. America is not going to change, man. God has to roast this place. It's prophesied to be roasted. That's why our job is to warn our people to the best of our ability to wake the hell up. Now, here's something I want to go into right here. This deals with China. It says China turns against Iran. Yeah, so many brothers saying that China was going to link up with Iran and Iran was going to win through China and Russia. But for weeks I've been saying, where's China? Where's China? It can still happen. It can still happen. But these devils, they're about saving their skin. They're about saving their skin. I keep telling you, brothers, when it comes to money, that's what talks. That's what talks. I want to see if I can find that story in China about in China, those lines building up. Let's see if it comes up. Ridiculous, man. Yeah. I can pull up the YouTube video. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube after this. It says, surging gas prices drive a geopolitical instability like the 2026 Iran conflict or historic 1970s oil embargoes. That's before your time. Often creating panic, causing lines to supply shortage at pumps. High prices stemming from limited supplies and high demand created fear of shortages, which frequently leads consumers to crowd stations. You remember when I was talking about this and brothers was like, China's going to help them. China's going to help them. And they might. Exacerbating the shortage, making it worse. But remember that? I kept saying, where the hell is China and Russia? Where they at? Geopolitical conflict, wars and embargoes, 1973, 79, and 2026 threaten global oil supplies, forcing sharp price increases. Money talks. You got to have that money, baby. It's that money. It's the money that changes people. Your friends become enemies. That money. Everybody's trying to save their skin. Everybody's trying to save their skin. Everybody's trying to save their skin, man. Except you so-called Negroes. Let's go to the story. Let's go to the video. Let's go to that bean footage. Look at that.
The Iranian regime has officially crossed the ultimate red line, and now their biggest allies are betraying them. In a desperate bid to survive the relentless US bombardment, Tehran has started blowing up commercial tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. But the blackmail completely backfired. By choking off world's oil supply, Iran accidentally crippled the Asian markets, forcing China to publicly condemn the regime and abandon them at the United Nations. The Islamic Republic has officially united the entire planet against itself. And the
Saudis and the other neighboring countries, they flipping out against them too. You know that, right? And as we speak, France and different European countries, they're sending warships over to escort the ships through the straits. So you see how fast things can change? And it can change all the way. They can sink a couple of ships, Iran, and have people in fear. It could turn the other way. But to put all your eggs in one prophetic basket and say, this is the way it is, it's World War III, we're finally out of here. I know I was wrong about the year 2000, but we're finally out of here, That's dumb, because now all the people all the people brothers told that China is going to come to the rescue, Russia's going to come to the rescue, and it might happen. But suppose it didn't happen and you was out there saying that China and Russia is going to support Iran and there's going to be World War III. Suppose that don't happen. Suppose that doesn't happen. We read what's happening in China. They're feeling the heat. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to support their people and do what they got to do to get that oil. What do you think the Russians are going to do? They've been struggling and starving for a minute. Most of the oil that's sold in the Straits of Hormuz, China is their biggest customer. Russia is dependent on that to keep going. What do you think is going to happen, man? People are going to flip. Then on the flip side, you got the sleeper cells in America. So you can increase pressure by bombing the hell out of people going to work, going to Wall Street, traveling back and forth on the expressways in California and create pressure to stop the war. Things can go either way, but you know what's straight? You know what doesn't go either way? The word of God. The word of God don't go either way. You're better off trusting in the word of God. That don't go either way. Let's hear some more, though.
Story starts with the shocking.
Okay, if you're still getting slack, man.
Oh, boy. Commercial. Sorry about that.
Beijing. Even China is now calling these Iranian attacks unacceptable. Take a listen.
China does not agree with the attacks on Gulf states and condemns all indiscriminate attacks on civilians and non-military targets. The urgent task is to immediately cease military operations and prevent further expansion of the conflict. The solution lies in returning to dialogue and negotiation as soon as possible and striving to restore peace.
Now look at that. That's pressure on Iran now. That's pressure on Iran because nobody wants everybody, including your boys, to attack you. You don't want your boys to attack you who are once close with you and their friends and more friends, and you're surrounded. So that's pressure on them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not on their side because the same pressure is on America. America's horse in this race is an issue too because they can't afford to have a long conflict. They can't afford to have boots on the ground, and they're already talking about 2,000 men putting boots on the ground already. So a loss of American lives, that's bad politically, that's bad financially in America. You got the primaries coming up in November. They're rushing this thing so they can lock down the primaries, the Republicans. So that don't look right. And then how do we know that's not a scam too? How do we know that's not rigged and organized too? You see where I'm going? So you can't lock into one position. You have to think like a soldier, but you have to think like a spiritual soldier, properly armed in the word of God.
The fundamental solution is to jointly return to the right track of abiding by international law and the basic norms of international relations.
Now, rising oil prices are a problem for everyone. But for China, this problem is existential. Take a look at the clip on your screen. Oil shortage is already playing out on the streets.
Look at that. Now, I don't know if that's fake. Maybe they're just going to work, or coming from work. I don't know if that's fake, but it's definitely worth considering. Remember, the media lies too now. The media lies too. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that's not fake. Let's lean more towards that direction. It's not. We're not even at halftime. And look what China's doing or going through right now. We're not even in the third quarter. We're not even in halftime yet. And look at this thing financially. Could happen in America too. Could very well happen in America. But let's say this was true. Let's just, for the sake of argument and understanding, let's just run with it for a little bit.
Inside of China, there are massive lines of Chinese drivers lining up at gas.
Look at that. That's not fake. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look how the Most High works and gets down. Didn't I say the Most High rocks in a domino effect? Look how this rocks. You see this? You see this? This is crazy.
Gas stations to fill their tanks before there's a major price increase. That's because, you see, almost all the oil that passes through the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia, and vast majority of that goes to China, as you can see from the Bloomberg chart on your screen. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't just Iranian oil. This is taking into account all of Gulf oil. Look at this Reuters data visualization. Saudi Arabia sends around 1.6 billion barrels a year to China. Iraq, pretty much the same story. Majority of their oil goes to China. UAE, the same story. And even the oil that's not going to China, majority of it is going to rest of Asian countries. In fact, very little of the Gulf oil actually goes to the United States or Europe or to the rest of the world.
So that's a strong position. That's a strong position for the powers that be, the small hats in America to a certain extent. But it could open the door to World War III like a lot of you brothers are saying. It could. I'm not going to take that off the table. It very well can open the doors to World War III. I'm not taking that off the table. But at the same time, we have to be smart. We have to be smart. And we have to be correct. You got to watch what you say if you're out there teaching, but you have to be smart. Let's go some more.
Asian countries depend on the Strait of Hormuz more than anyone else on this planet, and Iran just turned it into a war zone. This is exactly why the countries that Iran believed it to be its allies are now turning against the regime. Being an Iranian ally is just not working out for these countries. If you need more proof, just look at Oman. 2 days ago, Iran attacked oil refineries and ports in Oman. But here's the thing. Oman doesn't really fit into Iranian excuse for this attack. Iranian regime keeps saying that they're going after countries that have US bases and countries that are working with the United States. Well, guess what? Oman has no US bases. Oman, in fact, tried to negotiate a peace deal, a nuclear deal between the United States and Iran. And on top of that, Oman has refused to let US use its airspace or territory against Iran. That means Oman has done everything that Iran has asked for. They have met every demand that the Islamic regime has put forward for the world. They have stayed neutral. And despite all this, Iran attacked them anyways.
Still bomb. Same thing in Saudi Arabia a week ago. Same thing. And Iran apologized. And said they weren't going to do that again. They weren't going to shoot any missiles or fly any drones in neighboring countries. And they said, unless they were attacked. You saw the video I put up the other day. And they still are shooting missiles over there. And I can understand. I know what's up because they want to affect America. And they mad at these different countries that has ties with America, that do business with America. But then it goes back to the money. It goes back to the money. I want to play more, but I don't want to take a chance to get a strike. It goes back to the money. And nothing is going to change that. So don't be stupid, man. Don't be stupid. Use your brains and follow the Most High, follow the money, and think, because this is getting real. It's getting very real. Could it be the doors to World War III? Yeah, it could be. It could be that third woe. Could be, but it might not be. It might be sometime down the road, man. I know a lot of brothers don't want to hear that. They tired of being here. They want to see Christ come back, but it don't work that way. We ain't go through nothing yet compared to what we should be going through or what the prophets of old went through, man. I was thinking about that the other day. The Most High told me, yo, you ain't going through jack compared to being hung upside down or crucified or running from Romans or heathens or even your own people being put to death or beat up by your own people for teaching the word of the Most High. So stop your BS. Stop your BS and get in the program. I'm not talking about you brothers and sisters, but cut the BS out, man. You understand? Because we got a way to go. And the Most High going to make us earn this sucker, man. He's going to make us earn this. So get your mind together. But that's all I got for you today. I'll see you brothers and sisters tomorrow. Y'all stay in the spirit. And yo, do me a favor, hit that like button because they're going if you play this video back later on today or into tomorrow, I guarantee, I can almost guarantee you, Most High's will, that parts of the videos, the sound will go out on the news. I hope it don't. I don't own the right to the video, but it's much appreciated, and it's for educational use only. So, just do me a favor, hit that like button. Maybe that might help it stay up. Still relaxing, eating. You damn right. They're drinking Henny. Trump, that evil Trump. They twerking. Gonna cut my Section 8 off. Come on, man. You see that smoke on the left, man. Imagine living in that, man. Imagine you come home and you live in the projects and half the damn building is torn off from the 16th floor up down because of damn propelled missile attacks, man. Come on, stop it. When that day comes, these Negroes gonna lose their mind, man. They're gonna lose their goddamn mind. They're gonna say, what did it say? Hey brother, what did it say in Matthew 24 about rumors of war and rumors of war? Can you give me understanding in that, brother? Aki. They're gonna call you Aki like you're a Muslim. They're gonna call you Aki. They're gonna want to know in that day, man. They're gonna want to know. And we're servants of the Most High. We gotta show our people, man. They act like that, You got to show them because that's our job, man. That's our job. We got to show our people. So, you brothers and sisters, you hang in there, you stay strong, and we'll take it from there. Shalom.
Reach into my pocket. Read to him the 29th scroll, 6th verse.
Beware the beast man, for he is the devil's pawn. Alone among God's primates, he kills for sport, or lust, or greed. Yea, he will murder his brother to possess his brother's land. Let him not breed in great numbers, for he will make a desert of his home and yours. Shun him. Drive him back into his jungle lair, for he is the harbinger of death.
I found nothing in the cave to alter that conception of man, and I still live by its injunction.